Okay, back down to the end of the table. This question will be for the Congressman. Congressman, for years you have championed the so-called fair tax, yet despite Republican control of Congress, you've never gotten a committee or a floor vote on it. Why? Is it because the fair tax is a bad idea?
That's not it, Jim. I guessed it's so-called fair tax. I was not dealing with a supporter in that case. Listen, the fair tax is the biggest tax reform idea we've had since America put the income tax in place. What I would encourage the author of that question to do is look at the tax reform bill that Ways and Means Chairman Kevin Brady has recently introduced. It's the one that he wants to move in January, and it has fair tax fingerprints all over it. We have more co-sponsors than ever before on the fair tax. We haven't just moved the bill, we've moved the whole debate. Not me, but us, the whole fair tax nation of folks across the land. If you want to ensure American competitiveness in manufacturing, we're not going to do it with low wages. We're not going to do it with lax environmental controls. We're going to do it by ending the worst corporate tax code in America, in the world, and moving to the best. Far from being a non-success story, the fair tax movement across the nation has been a wonderful success story of how self-governance should work.
Mr. Malik.
I wrote my book on entrepreneurship, and I strongly believe on entrepreneurship. And I can tell you and assure you, fair tax is not going to work. It's going to bring stagnation. Circulation of fund and circulation of resources is paramount to economic development. What we have to do, we have to have a progressive tax, and we have to make sure that the government has the ability to produce health care for everybody. Let me ask you, is a healthy labor force good for the economy, for a healthy economy, or you want an unhealthy labor force? At this moment, America is in dire need of strong labor force. Think about it.
Thank you. This next question will be for Chairperson about Amendment 1 on the ballot concerning schools. For you guys? All right. Chairperson, let me. Yeah.
You're an excellent senator.
All right. Passed an empty, shiny, new county bus on the way here. Empty. And you want more money for transit. Can you respond to that statement?
Okay. I'm not sure that I'm saying more money for transit. What I have said is that we have to have a robust community discussion about the different transportation options. And when I talk about community discussion, I mean real information about the real cost of all the different modes of transportation, the ways they have to be funded, the timetables that are involved. This is not, we've heard discussion about the idea of a rail line. It would probably take 7 or 8 years to get the environmental clearance to run a rail line from where it ends in Dorville to Gwinnett County line right now. So I'm talking about taking the time to have the discussion with the community with all the information laid out, so that I have a lot of faith in the voters in Gwinnett County. I think that the voters of Gwinnett County have demonstrated in the past that they can make good decisions for the community when they have all the information that they need to make those decisions. So that's what I'm suggesting.
Mr. Shealey?
The last time there was a vote taken in Gwinnett County as far as rail transportation was 1990, 26 years ago. Okay, we had 352,000 people in Gwinnett County at that time. They made that choice. I think it was a terrible choice that they made then. But now we have 900,000 people in Gwinnett County, and we're still using the same goal, the transportation goal that they had in 1990. We're still doing the same thing in 2016. There has to be a change. 900,000 people, 1.2 in 2018, 1.2 million. Gridlock.
All right, thank you. Next question will be for Senator. please explain the pros and cons about Amendment 1 that's on the ballot concerning schools. It's not that funny.
Yeah, the Opportunity School District we're talking about. You've seen commercials on television so far against it. They are funded by the teacher unions from out of this state right now. I will tell you right now, Gwinnett has no failing schools. DeKalb has 28. If you didn't have the threat right now, the Opportunity School District, you wouldn't see the reforms being made in the city of Atlanta. You wouldn't see the superintendent of DeKalb spending all his time trying to get 28 schools off this list. You don't hear Alvin Wilbanks campaigning against it, because the bottom line, we're about cheating our kids. You've got schools that have failed for 10 plus years, 15 years. And if you're in nowhere, Georgia, with just one high school, one middle school, and you've been on this list for more than 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, you tell me. We can't get these kids to be successful, to be able to fill the jobs we need. We need 200,000 jobs filled in the upcoming years, and the key is education. We can't continue to do what we've been doing. Thank you.
Okay, now we've reached a point where if we go, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I apologize. Ms. Johnson-Shealy.
OSD, the Opportunity School District, is not an opportunity. I think you said it correctly at the very end of what you just said. You are creating a pipeline to a workforce. These failing schools in this legislation was the formula that they used to define failing schools. The formula wasn't designed to be used that way. So, failing schools was something that was created. These schools aren't quote unquote failing. This formula that they use is not a valid formula to say that these schools are failing. And you voted for that. No, there are no schools in Gwinnett County, but there are schools in other parts of the county, and it needs to be a different approach. It's an awful piece of legislation, and I hope everybody in here votes no, because if they can do it in Gwinnett County, they can do it in DeKalb and all these other counties, they can do it right here in Gwinnett, and it's awful legislation.
All right, so if we run through another round, we will shortchange you in your closings. So we're not going to do that. So, because I'm the king of the hill tonight, I'm going to change the rules. So rather than giving each of you a minute for close, I'm giving each of you 2 minutes to let the folks in this audience know what's the most important thing for you. What's the most important thing for you as it concerns the citizens of Peachtree Corners in Gwinnett County. Let them know. We'll start with Congressman Woodall. Mr. Malik will have 2 minutes to handle, say whatever his piece, and so on down the line. By that time, we'll end at 8 o'clock, which is when we're designed to end, and you guys will have an opportunity to give a full-fledged closing statement rather than just a minute. Congressman.
Thank you for your work there as moderator tonight. Again, thank you for UPCCA and for putting this on. The answer is making a difference is the only reason anybody is sitting on this side of the microphones, and making a difference is the only reason that anybody is sitting on that side of the microphones. If you don't want to make a difference, you didn't bother showing up here tonight. You and I are making a difference together. We're not just making a difference locally. We're not just making a difference statewide. We're making a difference across the country and across the world. I mentioned to you about water and our success there together. This really is the lifeblood of Gwinnett County, but more than that, we're going to have more wars on this planet over clean water than we're going to have over oil in my lifetime. And we have a model of stewardship here, not just in Gwinnett, though the record in Gwinnett is stellar, but in the entire metro area, where we can grow our population by 1 million people but still utilize less water. We need to take that message of stewardship and settle it on Capitol Hill, and that's exactly what we've been able to do. Same thing's true in immigration. We do look today as America's going to look in 15 years. We have more first-generation Americans in this congressional district than any other red state Republican district in the country. And it's awesome. And it's awesome. The reason I'm able to move forward, moving the trust on this issue, is because folks know that I come from a place where immigration is succeeding, where folks have been standing in line, where folks love America, where folks just came to express faith and family and love of education, and we are a part of a dynamic community that the rest of the nation is envious of. That's a place that we can build that trust, and it's one that we're building together. The nicest thing anyone has said to me since I was elected to office was a liberal Democrat from California. She'd just been elected. She came to me with an idea. And I said, "Why'd you come to me?" She said, "Rob, because I went to my mentors on the Democratic side. They said you have unimpeachable conservative credentials, but you're always willing to listen." I'd like to offer that for another 2 years, and I'm grateful to you for the opportunity you've given me so far.
Mr. Malik?
Thank you. It is time for new blood. It's time for new blood to come to the system and make changes, new ideas. I propose that we work together to develop the economy of individuals. And the best way to do it through education. I run a college where our expertise is taking unemployed, underemployed individuals, train them, and put them in a new occupation. So I would like to emphasize heavily on education, bring technology to the doors of everybody. 50 million individuals should not be without technology, without access to internet. We have to make sure that the transportation is available on demand. As I said, circulation of funds and resources and human resources is paramount to economic development. We have to have proper transportation where a person can go to a destination of 30 miles in 30 minutes, not in 30 hours. It takes around about 2 hours, sometimes hour and a half, to reach 30 miles, and that should not be the case. We have to do better than that. Thank you.
Mr. Shealey?
Okay, once again, I'm going to mention transportation, but and it's a need that we really have to do something about. I just feel like we owe the next generation better. We owe them better. But then I was going back to the question as far as the retention of the employees in Gwinnett County. In 2007, our police officers were, their retirement was basically, their pension plan was taken away, all right? And it was privatized. And now, you know, the new officers now that are coming on and that have been coming on are, you know, have a 401k. Well, with that 401k, they can go anywhere they want to, you know, so they get 5 years of service in Gwinnett County, and then all of a sudden, you know, they're going to move to a higher paying area, you know. Well, if this continues, like I said, in 2009, Gwinnett County lost 5 officers. In 2015, they lost 60. Okay, and you know, the chief in his article said that they're losing quite a few officers this year coming around. So, you know, and I look at that and I'm saying that police force and all of our county workers are very vital to the future of Gwinnett County, and we have to do something about that.
Chairperson Nash?
How many of you were in Gwinnett County in January 2011? How many of you think things are better in Gwinnett County right now than they were at that point in time? I'll remind you what had just happened. We had a chairman that had resigned in order to avoid being prosecuted for or indicted for perjury. We had another commissioner under indictment. We faced a $38 million budget deficit, and I can go on with a list of other kinds of challenges that existed. Main challenge was restoring trust in this community, though. It's amazing to me how quickly trust can be lost when it takes so long to gain it. I'm going to applaud Lynette Howard as your district commissioner. She's been in there working with us very hard. We quickly moved to deal with things that address that trust issue, and we managed to balance the budget. Yes, there were difficult decisions made. We had to make cuts in the budget. We had to make choices, set priorities, and that's exactly what we did. The tax digest value dropped by 25%. Over the course of the downturn. You don't balance a budget without making tough choices when you've seen a shrinkage in your revenues like that. We also, over here it wasn't as big a deal because Peachtree Corners was still in formation stages, but the county was in court having sued the cities in the county. Mayor Mason can tell you he's heard war stories from the cities in terms of what happened as a result of that litigation. I'm proud to say we settled that within 18 months of our taking office, and we have done, I think, a great job of mending it. I say all that to say we're on the verge of being prepared to do great things here in Gwinnett County, and I want to bring to bear the same type of leadership for the next 4 years that I have for the last 5.
Ms. Johnson-Shealy?
The role of a state legislator is to have their pulse on the nation and right here in Georgia. The role of a state legislator is to have a heart for all communities, not just some communities. Senator Millar has been very divisive in a lot of his policies. This is my second run. I ran against him in 2014. I'm very serious and I'm very committed to the people of Georgia, all the people of Georgia, to all the children of Georgia. Georgia is a very diverse state. Our diversity is growing and growing. Peachtree Corners in this district, it's more of it's like it has a wall around it. It's incubated from what's going on in the rest of the state. We have to pay attention to what's happening to the rest of Georgia. It's not just about this area. It's about all of us. It's about all of Georgia. Senator Millar voted for that Opportunity School District to take local control from our school districts. Senator Millar voted for the Religious Freedom Bill, which was a very discriminating bill. I'm just encouraging you to look at this race and look at it with a different set of eyes, a different set of lens. And let's have one Georgia that looks like this panel, as diverse as this panel is. Let's have one Georgia.
Senator?
I think Rob made a good point about demographics. You look at Gwinnett County, majority-minority today. As I look at educational opportunities, some things we need to do, and I'm going to talk particularly about higher ed because I chair this now for 2 years. We're getting ready to launch an initiative because we've got to fill 200,000 jobs in the next 5 years. And we think nationally 60% of young people need a post-secondary credential, a certificate, associate degree, or bachelor degree. Look at the success of Georgia Gwinnett College, a school from nowhere with now 12,400 students. We're going to launch an initiative here. It'll be announced pretty soon. We've got buy-in from the governor, lieutenant governor, speaker of the House, the chancellor, incoming, outgoing chancellor, okay? And we're going to do an audit of our technical colleges and our universities and colleges as respects affordability. We've got to find a way for young people of all demographics, okay, to be able to advance themselves in school. 60% of the jobs are going to require this. We keep bringing all these companies in. It's all been about jobs if you look at what Nathan Deal talks about. I think 500,000 jobs since he's been governor in the private sector. The private sector is the reason of our prosperity. We had a growth last year in revenue of 5.2%, and that's without the gas tax. I voted for that too. Okay, that's without the gas tax, okay? The only people that beat us was Tennessee with 6.2. Texas lost 13%. We have sustained prosperity in this state, but we've got to get it everywhere. We just had a tire company go outside of West Point, Century Tire from China, the first one from China. We are trying to do things throughout the entire state. We've got to have good schools, good hospitals. We can't get jobs everywhere. It's about all the people of Georgia, and I take that responsibility very serious. I'm going to close with this. Feel free to take a sign. I'd like to thank my wife for being here. Okay, let's make sure I behave. But again, very much, thank you all very much for this opportunity. And thank you, Jim.
Candidates, thank you very much. Guys, thanks for everything. Thanks for coming. Thanks for submitting your questions. Candidates, thank you very much. We know how busy you guys are. Appreciate you making time for everybody here in Peachtree Corners. Thank you very much, and I appreciate you guys listening to the rules and the flexibility there at the end. Thanks, guys.